I don't want to see a single white person provide a think piece on the Black American identity and who we can identify with as Black Americans. I've seen several videos over the past couple of days about, obviously, in response to Beyonce's performance, because every time Beyonce does something, people are in an uproar. But there was a few takes that I saw from white leftists, which makes me want to talk about the relationship between white liberal leftists and their inability to see how racist they are. There was one take that said, the average Black American who is poor and uneducated cannot identify with Beyonce, who's always grown up rich, while showing a picture of a regular middle class Black American home in a very Black neighborhood in Houston. And what this does is it reinforces to the white left and white people as a whole that they are the only ones in the middle class, and that we are the people who grow up in Section 8, grow up in poverty, lack education, lack access to anything. And there are millions of Black people in this country, including myself, who grew up in a home with both parents, who went to school, who had cars, who then went to college, who have regular life. And your inability to view us in that light goes back to my previous video where you don't view us as an American in that sense. Another one said, why would Black people be proud of this country when this country is a colonial country? And it got me thinking, how many Americans don't truly understand or grasp the concept of what it means to be an American and what colonization actually meant to the larger scale of who we are in our identity in America? I speak often about the diaspora issues and the wars that we do have, and as they don't identify us with America because America is a white place. But there's a larger story behind that. When you look at the colonial entities that exist, which are most of Europe, and their ex-colonies, which are all abroad, America is the only colonizing entity where we, the colonized, had to stay in the land of the colony. And so we exist here in a vacuum. Our entire culture was created in a vacuum. And when that occurs, we are consistently oppressed and suppressed by the majority. So we are truly a minority in this country. And that's why the relationship we have with the identity of America can be very complicated for some to grasp and very complicated for us to even understand. So when you look at all the countries of the Caribbean, all the countries in Africa, and their ability to be patriotic and have pride in who they are, a lot of that pride comes out of fighting for their independence and gaining that independence from the colonial masters. So they were able to have the fortitude to create their own new systems, come out of an oppressed system, and be their own entity. Remember, none of the countries in Africa existed prior to the end of colonization. None of the countries in the Caribbean or Latin America existed prior to the end of colonization. America exists because of colonization. So when we have all these new identities in the world, it's like they're able to identify as Jamaican or Haitian or Brazilian or Mozambican or Nigerian and have pride because they gain their freedom from this entity. Whereas us in America, while we're American, right? We developed our culture here, and it's one of the widely consumed cultures in the world. But it gets suppressed under this umbrella that is American. And because America is the colonizer and we exist within that colonized society, we have a complicated identity of people not identifying us as American and ourselves not identifying with the term American. I say all this to say, if you are white, you can keep your think pieces to yourself about how Black people can identify and how we identify. And that goes for all Black people, whether it's Africa, the Caribbean, or Latin America. You as a white person cannot grasp what it means to be Black in the world and the systems that are set out to oppress us and have historically oppressed us. With that being said, all Black people in America won't identify with the American flag. We won't identify with that Black identity. But I do know one thing, that Black Americans are very proud in our customs, our cultures, our art, our inventions. We've invented almost everything that we use today in this country, from cell phones to GPS. So it's a very nuanced conversation. And that's why I say when I see these takes and they don't have historical context or the ability to apply that nuance to the combo, it really makes me upset. But don't try to police people and how they identify, and don't try to police Black people anywhere in the world, because you will never understand it as a white person.